There comes a moment in every life when you must decide, will you remain the person you've been, or will you become the one you're meant to be? Growth isn't graceful. It's not passive. It doesn't wait for permission. Growth is violent. It's surgical. And most of all, it's intentional. If you do not force yourself to evolve, you will unconsciously choose to decay. Period. The old version of you, your habits, your doubts, your fears, was built for survival, not success. That version of you avoided pain, escaped accountability, and feared risk. But that version of you cannot walk through the door of the life you truly want. That version of you must be buried, not slowly, not eventually, now. You must become your own architect, your own executioner, and your own liberator. Tear down the comfort zone brick by brick. Smash routine that does not serve your future. Burn the bridges leading back to average. It's either destruction or rebirth. There is no middle ground. Discipline is not a choice anymore. It is your only weapon. Without discipline, your goals are hallucinations. You think you have time? You don't. The clock doesn't wait for readiness. It rewards movement. You must act before you feel like it. You must train before you're inspired. You must push, even when nothing around you supports that push. There will be no applause in this process. No one will cheer you for quitting your old identity. You will bleed in silence. But that blood will water the soil your future is planted in. You'll feel fear, yes, but fear is just an alarm clock reminding you that your breakthrough is near. Most never escape because they confuse fear with finality. But fear is just friction. Push through. Every day you don't outgrow yourself is another day you dig your own grave. Harsh, yes. But reality doesn't apologize. It only rewards execution. You don't owe your past self anything, but your future self is begging you, force the evolution. Look at your actions. Are they aligned with the person you say you want to become, or are they feeding the same tired narrative you've been repeating for years? Stop making peace with mediocrity. Stop negotiating with habits that have already robbed you of years. Cut the deal off. Now, your greatness is not found in who you are. It's buried underneath who you refuse to stop being. The weight you're carrying is not life. It's your past. Drop it. Mourn it if you must. Then rise with fire in your gut. You want real change? Force it. Kick the door open. Burn the map. Trust the grind.
You will be tempted to revert.
That's normal. But never let temporary pain seduce you into permanent comfort. Don't revisit hell just because it feels familiar. Stay uncomfortable. Stay focused. Force yourself forward. Because the truth is simple. You either outgrow your past or you get buried by it. Your old self is the greatest enemy of your future. Not your environment, not your upbringing, not the people who doubted you, you. The version of you that hesitates, that procrastinates, that clings to comfort and routine like a blanket. That version is not your friend. It's the jailer of your potential. Every time you go back to your old habits, every time you allow fear to speak louder than your mission, you're feeding the very thing that's trying to keep you small. The greatest threat to your growth isn't outside of you. It's that voice in your head that says, stay here, it's safe. But safe is the opposite of progress. Safe is the coffin where dreams go to die. You can't become something new while still being loyal to who you were. And if you don't kill the old mindset will kill the new opportunity. No one else is holding you back more than the identity you refuse to release. The world doesn't stop for your indecision. It doesn't pause while you sort through your doubts. The world moves with or without you, and success demands movement. Not perfect movement, just relentless, committed forward action. Every day you hesitate, the gap widens between who you are and who you could be. That gap becomes pain. That pain turns to frustration. That frustration becomes bitterness. And bitterness is nothing but regret disguised as logic. You will never escape the cycle until you confront the root, your refusal to grow, and growth never feels good. That's the secret no one tells you. Growth is ugly, growth is lonely, growth is painful, but so is staying the same, and only one of them leads to freedom. You must become ruthless with your habits, ruthless with your time, ruthless with your standards. Your future isn't something you stumble into, it's something you build, brick by brick, choice by choice, battle by battle. The moment you realize that your current identity is the glass ceiling, everything changes. That ceiling isn't there to protect you. It's there to be shattered. But it won't break unless you do. Break your excuses. Break your laziness. Break your attachment to who you were when you were surviving instead of thriving. You don't need more time, more resources, or more validation. You need more self-respect. Because when you truly respect yourself, you stop tolerating anything that poisons your potential. The people around you will try to keep you the same. Not because they're evil, but because your growth threatens their comfort. When you evolve, you remind them of everything they're avoiding. So they'll laugh, they'll question, they'll resist. Let them. Your journey isn't for their approval. It's for your transformation. And if you have to walk alone to find yourself, so be it. It's better to be alone in progress than surrounded in stagnation. Stop waiting for people to understand your urgency. They weren't given your vision. They weren't assigned your mountain. Climb anyway. Every single day is a test of discipline, a test of mindset, a test of how badly you want it. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack grit. They stop when it's hard. They quit when it's uncomfortable. They settle when it's almost. You cannot afford to be most people. You must become unrecognizable to the person you used to be. That means waking up when you're tired, showing up when no one claps, sacrificing now to live free later. You must lead yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. The goals you set are irrelevant if your habits don't match them. You can't have $1 million dream with minimum wage discipline. You can't speak power and live passively. You can't demand more and give the same. The future you want is allergic to comfort. It can't survive in the same environment that produced your excuses. You must be willing to trade momentary ease for permanent transformation. That's not motivation, that's maturity. You don't get to feel like it. You don't get to wait for perfect conditions. You get up, you fight, you rise. Every single day. If you're tired, good. That means you're doing the work. If you're afraid, good. That means you're stretching. If you're alone, good. That means you're separating from the average. All of these are signs, not of failure, but of transformation. You don't build a new you by reading about it. You do it by bleeding for it, by sacrificing for it, by showing up when it's inconvenient and pushing through when it's unbearable. The fire you feel now will forge the power you need later. You will not recognize yourself in a year if you commit today, but you will regret everything if you wait one more week. Make the decision. Force the change. Your old self is whispering comfort. Your future self is screaming for freedom. Only one voice can win. Let it be the one that demands evolution. Because until you force yourself to outgrow the old version of you, you'll always live under the limits that version created. You don't need more time. You don't need more chances. You need more courage. Outgrow it or be owned by it. Growth does not happen by accident. It must be forced. You will never stumble your way into greatness. No one drifts into excellence. No transformation ever occurred because someone felt like changing. Growth begins when you demand more from yourself, when you get sick of the sound of your own excuses, when you declare war on your old patterns. You do not grow by waiting. You grow by pushing, by breaking, by facing resistance and choosing to move anyway. The people who rise are not the ones with more talent. They are the ones who took control when it would have been easier to let life choose for them. Growth is not a gift, it's a battle, and only those who force it ever get to see what they're truly capable of becoming. The life you dream of is locked behind doors that don't open with keys, they open with force. Force of decision, force of action, force of will. The world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. It doesn't care how many times you said you'd change, it only moves for those who refuse to stay the same. That means waking up with a plan and not letting your emotions negotiate it away. That means doing the work even when it feels meaningless. Because every time you do, you're casting a vote for the person you are becoming, not the person you've been. Most people live on repeat, recycling the same year over and over, calling it life. They wait for signs. They wait for motivation. They wait for a perfect time. That time never comes. Nothing changes unless something is forced to change. And if you don't force it, life will eventually force it on you. Through pain, through regret, through missed opportunities. It's a choice. You can suffer now through discipline or suffer later through disappointment. One leads to power. The other leads to nothing but blame and bitterness. Every dream you have will demand a version of you that doesn't exist yet. That version must be created. And creation requires destruction. You will have to destroy your comfort zones. You will have to destroy your laziness. You will have to destroy the false identity that was shaped by fear and failure. Growth requires that you confront the lies you tell yourself, the ones that say, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I'll try later. You don't fight those lies with words, you fight them with action. Action rewires belief. Action destroys hesitation. Action builds new habits, new standards, and a new reality. You will never grow until you stop doing what is easy and start doing what is necessary. The path of least resistance never led to strength. Muscles don't grow without tension. Confidence doesn't grow without risk. Character doesn't grow without struggle. You must be willing to get uncomfortable. You must be willing to stretch further than you think is possible. And when it hurts, when it burns, when it feels like you're losing, it's working. That's the process. That's the price. That's the cost of transformation. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to save you. This is your responsibility. Your life is your fault. That's not a punishment. It's power. Because the moment you accept full control is the moment you realize you're not stuck. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're just untrained. Growth is the training. Life is the gym. Every day is a rep. Every choice is a weight. And every second you delay is another second given to weakness. You owe yourself better than that. You owe your potential the force required to unlock it. There is no perfect strategy. There is no flawless blueprint. What matters is that you move, that you force movement when everything inside you wants to freeze. You will never be fully ready, but if you act with intensity, readiness will follow. You train the mind like you train the body. Through repetition, resistance, and discipline, you condition yourself to rise. You train your spirit to fight. And that's how you grow, not by waiting, but by forcing your own evolution, one brutal day at a time. You are not meant to stay the same. You are not meant to wake up and live as yesterday's version. There is something greater inside you, but it won't reveal itself through comfort. It will only rise when it's challenged. You must shock the system, disrupt the cycle, stop waiting for the right mood, the right opportunity, the right feedback. Take what you have and move with force. Let others call it obsession. Let others call it crazy. What they call insane, you will call freedom. Because nothing is more liberating than realizing you no longer need permission to grow. Every second you hesitate, the old version of you tightens its grip. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, the old self gets stronger. You don't owe that version anything. It had its chance. And if it were going to build the life you wanted, it would have done it by now. You must decide that you will not be loyal to your limitations anymore. You will not carry the identity of a person who waits. You will not protect the habits of mediocrity. You will force the breakthrough, force the shift, force the level up. And when it gets hard, you don't pull back, you push harder, because that's where the new you is hiding. Behind that resistance, behind that storm, behind that moment when everyone else would quit. You keep going, you force it, because your future demands it. Comfort is a drug, and withdrawal is necessary for greatness. The more you feed it, the weaker you become. It seduces you with routine, lulls you into safety, and wraps your potential in soft chains. Comfort convinces you that good enough is noble, that slowing down is self-care, and that tomorrow is always a better time to try. But what it never tells you is that every moment you spend inside it, something inside you is dying. Your hunger, your ambition, your edge. Comfort numbs. It anesthetizes your instincts. It slowly erodes the urgency that once lit your fire. You don't even notice it happening until one day the life you wanted is so far out of reach that you can't remember why you wanted it in the first place. And by then, comfort has won. You don't detox from comfort with inspiration. You detox with pressure, with discipline, with truth. The truth is, comfort is the enemy of every dream you've ever had. It's the quiet killer, the invisible ceiling, the silent assassin of potential. Comfort doesn't scream when it holds you back. It whispers. It makes excuses sound logical. It tells you you've earned rest when you haven't earned progress. It disguises fear as wisdom, makes hesitation feel like caution, and calls inaction peace. But it's not peace. It's paralysis. And until you learn to reject it, to rip it out of your life like a weed, it will keep you stuck in cycles of average, year after year, until you convince yourself that average is all you'll ever be. Withdrawal is violent. It's ugly. It's painful. And that's exactly what makes it necessary. If you think you can ease your way into greatness, you've already lost. You don't gently escape comfort. You wage war on it. You drag yourself out of bed when it's dark. You run when you don't want to walk. You act when fear screams at you to pause. You don't reason with comfort. You don't negotiate with mediocrity. You break it. You leave it behind like a skin that no longer fits. And when it calls you back, you don't answer. Greatness lives on the other side of discomfort. It lives in the early mornings, the late nights, the painful reps, the moments when you want to quit and choose to stay in the fire. It lives in the silence when no one is watching and you still do what needs to be done. The people who rise aren't more talented. They're more willing to suffer in pursuit of something greater. They are addicted to growth, not ease. They crave the stretch, the struggle, the challenge. Because they know the truth, comfort never built anything that mattered. Look at your life. Every breakthrough you've had came from a moment when you broke away from what felt easy. Every victory was born in resistance. You've never grown when you were comfortable. Not once. Growth is pressure applied daily. It's the friction of discipline against distraction. It's the tension between who you are and who you refuse to remain. You will never reach the next level while holding on to what makes you feel safe. Safety doesn't elevate. It suffocates. It kills momentum. It locks you in the version of yourself that was designed for survival, not for success. Your future cannot coexist with your comfort zone. One has to die. Either you kill the comfort or the comfort kills your purpose. And you know this deep down. That's why you feel the guilt after you waste a day. That's why regret always follows your excuses. You're wired for more, but comfort keeps you blind. You think comfort means happiness, but it's just delayed misery. The longer you stay in it, the more disconnected you become from your fire, your potential, your destiny. The harder it gets to break free. And that's why you must break now. There is no such thing as a neutral life. You're either getting sharper or getting duller. You're either rising or sinking. Growth is not passive. It doesn't come to the patient. It comes to the relentless. The ones who chase discomfort like it's oxygen. The ones who say yes to the pain because they know that pain is the toll for becoming someone new. You have to force yourself to hurt in the right direction. Force yourself into environments that challenge you. Force yourself into schedules that demand more from you than you feel ready to give. Only then does the next level reveal itself. Everything you want is behind the wall of comfort. And no one will knock that wall down for you. That's your job. Every morning you open your eyes, you face a decision. Stay in the prison of ease or fight your way into freedom. You can't do both. You can't have dreams and indulge weakness. You can't want more and keep living like less. Withdrawal isn't optional. It's the first step. It's the burn you feel when you finally stop feeding yourself lies and start feeding your future. So stand up. Strip away the patterns that serve your old self. Rip out the beliefs that keep you from moving. Break the addictions to delay, to comfort, to low standards. Remind yourself that every minute spent in comfort is a vote against the life you say you want. Trade ease for growth. Trade comfort for conviction. And never forget that the world belongs to those who are willing to be uncomfortable long enough to rise above the ones who weren't. Every version of you that stays the same is sabotaging the one that wants more. The part of you that clings to old habits, old patterns, old excuses. It's not just delaying your future, it's destroying it. You can't evolve and stay loyal to the past at the same time. The version of you that keeps hitting snooze, that avoids hard conversations, that lets fear dictate action, this version is the enemy of growth. It doesn't care about what you say you want. It only cares about what's familiar, what's safe, what's easy. And as long as you allow that version to lead, the version of you with the vision, the ambition, the hunger, it suffocates in silence. It loses its voice. It gets buried under comfort. That's not just self-sabotage. That's betrayal. You are in a constant battle between who you were and who you could become. And make no mistake, one of them will win. Every time you choose not to push, not to stretch, not to rise, you vote for the older version, the weaker one. The one that was built by circumstances, shaped by fear, limited by doubt. That version doesn't want you to grow because growth threatens its survival. It knows that when you elevate your mindset, your discipline, your expectations, it dies, and it's fighting for its life. That's why it whispers justifications. That's why it gives you reasons to wait, to hesitate, to stay right where you are. But here's the truth. You're not here to survive. You're here to ascend. The future doesn't unfold for the passive. It unfolds for the aggressive, for the ones who force the next version into existence through consistent pressure, action, and sacrifice. You don't outgrow the old self by reading about change. You outgrow it by executing with intensity, day after day, when it's inconvenient, when no one is watching, when every fiber of your being tells you to go back to what's familiar. Growth is a war, and the battlefield is within. And every time you compromise with your old self, you surrender territory. Territory you may never reclaim. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do. The problem is you keep living as someone who isn't committed to doing it. You keep reverting to a mindset that was designed to survive a version of life you no longer want. And every time you let that version take the wheel, the path forward disappears. You can't manifest a powerful future from a powerless identity. The old version of you can't lead you into greatness. It can only pull you back into what feels safe, and safe never built anything legendary. Look around at your results. They are a mirror of the self you've been loyal to. If your life hasn't changed, it's because you haven't. If your habits look the same, your outcomes will too. There is no escaping this truth. You are either becoming the person who earns what they desire, or you are repeating the person who only dreams about it. The difference is discipline. The difference is identity. The difference is who you're listening to. The version of you that's built for more, or the version that fears the cost of becoming it. Your time, your focus, your energy, these are investments. And every day you're either investing in your next level or funding your downfall. Stop pretending you're stuck. You're not stuck. You're just addicted to being someone you've outgrown. And as long as you protect that version, you postpone the one that's ready to take over. That version doesn't need more motivation. It needs room to breathe. And it only gets that room when you start making choices that choke out your old patterns and breathe life into your potential. You have to train yourself to think like the future you, the one who already achieved it, the one who walks with confidence, who executes relentlessly, who doesn't second-guess every move. That version doesn't tolerate weak thoughts, lazy actions, or self-pity. It operates with clarity, precision, and a relentless sense of urgency. Start acting from that place now. Not later, not when it's convenient, now. Because the longer you wait to step into that identity, the deeper the roots of your old one grow. This is about accountability to your own greatness. No one is coming to do this work for you. No one can step into your power except you. Every excuse, every delay, every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," is just your old self trying to hold the throne. It's already had its time. It's already shown you what it can create, and that's not enough anymore. The vision you have demands a new leader, a new level of discipline, a new standard, and that only happens when you stop trying to improve the old version and start replacing it completely. You don't need permission to grow. You need permission to let go. Let go of the need to be liked. Let go of the need to always feel ready. Let go of the version of you that was built by survival and start building the one that's shaped by purpose. You owe it to your future. You owe it to your legacy. Because every day you keep that old version alive, you bury the one that's ready to rise. And the clock isn't stopping. You're either stepping into your next self or sleeping in the shadow of the one that fears change. The only way forward is through force, through pressure, through transformation. That's how evolution happens. Not over time, but the moment you decide to never be that person again. Discipline is the bridge between the man you were and the one you must become. Nothing else can carry you across. Not dreams, not motivation, not good intentions. Discipline is the brutal force that turns potential into power. It's the difference between wishing and winning, between talking and transforming. The man you used to be had reasons, excuses, and delays. He justified his comfort. He made peace with mediocrity. But the man you're called to become doesn't negotiate with weakness. He doesn't tolerate delay. He wakes up every day and makes choices that match his vision, not his feelings. And the only way to become him is to make discipline your identity, not just your strategy. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with days where you don't feel like showing up, days where the fire is gone, where your mind says stop. Discipline is the voice that says go anyway. It's not about doing your best when it's easy. It's about doing what's required when it's excruciating. Discipline is what drags you through the early mornings, the lonely nights, the silent battles. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're uninspired. It only demands one thing, execution. And when you answer that demand repeatedly, you build something unshakable, self-respect. Without discipline, every plan crumbles. Every goal fades. Every opportunity slips through your fingers. Discipline is what converts thought into action and action into results. Without it, you're a man full of ideas and empty of outcomes. You can read the books, watch the videos, write out your goals in perfect ink, but without the daily grind, it's all a fantasy. The future isn't shaped by what you think you deserve. It's shaped by what you consistently show up for, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one notices, even when it feels like it's not working. That is the raw material of real success. The man you gave in too easily. He chased dopamine, not discipline. He responded to mood, not mission. That man was reactive. He waited to feel ready. He waited to feel strong. And in the waiting, he lost. But the man you must become is different. He is forged in fire. He doesn't wait for emotions to align. He moves and lets emotions catch up. He trains not just the body, but the mind. He practices integrity in private, long before it ever shows up in public. And it's that quiet discipline, the one nobody claps for, that builds unstoppable force. There are no hacks, no shortcuts, no tricks, just discipline, just the relentless repetition of action aligned with purpose. Discipline is what separates the average from the elite. It's not talent, not intelligence, not luck. It's the ability to do the hard thing when the easy thing looks so tempting. It's saying no to distraction, no to compromise, no to the old story of who you were. Discipline is saying yes to pressure, yes to sacrifice, yes to the standard that your future demands. That standard is not comfortable, it's not popular, but it's necessary, and only the disciplined reach it. The man you want to become isn't waiting to be found, he's waiting to be built. Built through every repetition, every decision, every hour of consistency. You don't stumble into transformation. You carve it out of time with relentless precision. It starts with the small promises you keep to yourself, the ones no one sees but you. When you say you'll wake up at 5 and you do. When you say you'll finish the task and you finish it. That's the foundation of the bridge. That's the moment the old you loses power. That's how you move toward the next level, not in giant leaps, but in daily choices that compound into character. Your potential means nothing without discipline. It's wasted genius. It's lost momentum. It's the haunting realization that you could have been so much more. And that pain is heavier than any discipline you'll ever endure, because discipline stings in the moment, but regret lasts forever. You must ask yourself every single day, am I acting like the man I was or the man I must become? If the answer is the old you, then you know what to do. You tighten the grip. You double down. You focus. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because every second counts when you're building a legacy. You'll be tempted to quit. You'll crave comfort. You'll want to take shortcuts. But discipline doesn't care what you want. It only responds to what you do. The man you must become is disciplined in thought, in action, in emotion. He is deliberate, focused, and driven by something deeper than feelings. He operates from mission, not mood. And every time you show up with discipline, you inch closer to becoming him. Not by accident, not by inspiration, but by force. Because that's the only way the bridge is ever crossed, from the man you were to the one you're destined to be. If it doesn't challenge you, it can't change you. That's the rule. That's the law. That's the hard truth most people run from. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in conflict. Change isn't found in the easy moments, it's forged in the fire. If something doesn't make you question yourself, push you to your limits, or force you to confront your weakness, it cannot elevate you. Change comes at a cost, and that cost is challenge, pressure, resistance. You cannot expect to become something greater while avoiding everything that makes you uncomfortable. It's the adversity that chisels the edge. It's the struggle that sharpens the mind. It's the pressure that creates the power. If your life is too easy, too predictable, too soft, then so is your mindset. And that's why you feel stuck. Real change is a transformation, and transformation always demands pain. It demands sweat. It demands long hours and longer patience. You have to push beyond what you think you're capable of. You have to break through ceilings that your past self put there. You have to destroy the habits that keep you emotionally sedated and mentally numb. Nothing changes until you change. And you won't change until you force yourself through something that stretches you, that breaks you, that humbles you, that empties you. That's what real transformation requires. Because on the other side of that breakdown is a breakthrough. But you'll never see it if you keep dodging difficulty. The challenge is not your enemy, it's your gatekeeper. It stands between you and everything you've ever wanted, and it won't move until you prove you're worthy. The challenge is there to filter out the casual from the committed, the interested from the obsessed, the pretenders from the relentless. That's its job. It separates the many who talk from the few who execute. And the only way through is forward, not around, not beneath, not after the storm passes, through. And that requires grit. Not just strength, but the stubbornness to refuse quitting. Comfort is easy, challenge is earned. And the reason most never change is because they never stay long enough in the fire to see what it can shape. They tap out when it burns. They leave when it gets quiet. They collapse when it's heavy. But pressure is part of the process. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to expose you. It reveals what's fake, what's fragile, what's unfinished. And once it shows you what needs to go, it forces you to build what needs to stay. You don't become unbreakable by avoiding resistance. You become unbreakable by embracing it. Every time you face a challenge, you're given a choice. Retreat into the old or rise into the new. Every challenge is a fork in the road. Comfort to the left, greatness to the right. And the road to greatness is uphill. It's rough. It's lonely. But every step makes you stronger. Every step pulls you away from the man you used to be. Every step brings you closer to the version of you that doesn't settle, that doesn't fold, that doesn't flinch. And that version is built, not found, by facing what scares you. You cannot fake growth. You cannot pretend your way into strength. You must earn it. And earning it means facing moments that test everything about you, your discipline, your mindset, your reason why. There will be days you want to quit. Days you'll question whether it's worth it. Days you'll wonder if you're built for this. And those days are the ones that matter most. Because if you can keep going on the worst days, you're already becoming unstoppable. That's what the challenge does. It reveals whether you're committed or just convenient, whether you're built for the outcome or just addicted to the image. Everyone says they want to change, but only a few mean it. Because real change is brutal. It demands sacrifice. It forces you to unlearn who you were. It kills comfort. It shakes your identity. You'll have to leave behind people, routines, beliefs, and emotions that once felt like home. You'll have to stretch further than you think you can go. But that's the process. That's the price. That's the difference between staying the same and stepping into something greater. If you're not willing to be challenged, then you're not ready to be changed. You don't rise by luck. You rise by choosing the hard way when the easy way calls. You rise by showing up when most would stay down. You rise by doing what you said you'd do, especially when you no longer feel like it. And if you keep doing that long enough, the challenge that once terrified you becomes the story that defines you. You'll look back one day and realize it was never the challenge that was the problem. It was your hesitation to embrace it. And once you stop hesitating, once you stop waiting for it to get easier, once you run into the challenge head on, everything shifts. Because change is not something you receive, it's something you fight for. You earn it in the trenches, through repetition, through resilience, through relentless pursuit. The challenge is not in your way, it is your way. And if it doesn't challenge you, it will never have the power to change you. Outgrowing yourself means killing excuses and building purpose. You don't rise while dragging dead weight. And excuses are exactly that, dead weight. They sound clever, they sound justified, but they are chains around your future. Every time you say, I can't, I'm not ready, maybe later, You reinforce the prison of who you used to be. You breathe life into the weaker version that's trying to survive. But growth doesn't happen in survival. It happens in rebirth. And rebirth requires that you kill everything that no longer serves you. That includes the narratives you've told yourself for years, the victim stories, the blame, the "I was born this way" speech. All of it must die so your purpose can finally breathe. You can't build something strong on a foundation of lies. The truth is this: nothing changes until you stop lying to yourself about why you haven't started. Purpose doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't show up in convenience. It's born when you decide to outgrow the version of you that was built on fear, on delay, on second-guessing. You can't live a purpose-driven life and keep entertaining your favorite excuses. The two can't coexist. Either you're building or you're breaking, and you are the builder. No one else is responsible for the work. No one else is going to hand you the next level. You must outgrow the habits that stall you. You must outgrow the people who normalize your excuses. You must outgrow the identity that makes excuses feel reasonable. Growth is not about adding more. It's about subtracting the false so the real can finally rise. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to stay the same. But purpose demands a new story, one that requires you to lead, not hide, one that pushes you to show up even when no one is watching, one that forces you to take full responsibility for what you haven't done and what you must now do. Purpose is not found. It's built, brick by brick, choice by choice. Through every early morning you didn't want to face, through every hard truth you refused to run from, through every setback you used as fuel instead of failure. That's how you build something unshakable. But it begins the moment you stop giving your excuses oxygen. There is a version of you that already lives inside purpose, that walks with clarity, that moves with urgency. That doesn't beg for motivation because discipline is enough, but that version is buried beneath years of justification and delay. Outgrowing yourself means digging up that version, ripping away the layers of self-sabotage, letting go of the identity that was comfortable but cost you progress. You can't stay where you are and expect to arrive somewhere new. That requires movement, force, intensity, and most of all, honesty. You have to admit you've been choosing ease over excellence. You've been making comfort your king, but comfort never crowned a champion. You must make a decision, a real decision, the kind that leaves no space for retreat. You either evolve or evaporate, grow or rot, change or get crushed by the weight of your own inaction. There is no neutral. And every day you don't choose purpose, excuses grow louder. They become part of your identity. They start sounding like facts, but they're not. They're just defense mechanisms designed to keep you where you are. And where you are is not enough. If it were, you wouldn't feel the pull to become more. That pull is your purpose calling, and it's not going to wait around forever. Purpose begins where excuses end. You cannot serve both. One must die for the other to live. You must cut the cord. You must kill the soft language that has kept you small. Words like hopefully, soon, maybe, someday. Replace them with action, with commitment, with movement. You build purpose by doing, not by talking. Excuses delay the doing. They make preparation a lifestyle. But preparation without action is just procrastination in disguise. You don't need another plan. You need execution right now. Imperfect, raw, messy action that smashes through the wall of indecision and starts the building process. You've been given one shot at this life, and every second wasted in excuse is a second stolen from purpose. You don't get that time back. There's no refund, no do-over. That's why outgrowing yourself isn't a luxury. It's a demand, a mandate. The life you want exists on the other side of that decision. But you won't get there carrying the weight of every excuse you've nurtured. Let them go. Burn them. Starve them. Replace them with decisions rooted in your future, not your past. That's how transformation happens. It's violent. It's deliberate. It's done with intensity. Excuses protect your ego, but purpose builds your legacy. And the only thing that matters at the end is what you built, not what you almost started. Stop feeding the weakness that wants to explain why now isn't the right time. Now is the only time. The challenge isn't too big, you've just been too small. And it's time to grow. Not gradually, not casually, radically, relentlessly. Outgrowing yourself means choosing purpose Every time your mind tries to pull you back into comfort, it means outworking your doubt, outthinking your fear, outlasting your old patterns. You are not what happened to you. You are what you decide to become. And that decision must be made in the face of every excuse that's tried to hold you back. You kill the excuse. You build the purpose. You move forward without apology, without hesitation, and without the old identity you've outgrown. That's how you rise. That's how you lead. That's how you change everything. Stop negotiating with weakness. You owe your potential everything. Every time you pause to entertain doubt, every time you bargain with laziness, every time you give fear the microphone, you surrender something sacred. You weren't born to be average. You weren't designed to crawl. You were built to rise, but you're letting your lesser self lead. And that self is good at making excuses. It loves comfort, craves safety, and runs from resistance. But resistance is where power is built. It's where potential is revealed. And you'll never unlock what you're capable of by playing defense with your dreams. You either move forward with force, or you rot in place negotiating with lies your mind has repeated for too long. The clock isn't waiting, neither should you. Weakness has a voice, and it sounds like reason. It sounds like, take it easy, start tomorrow, don't push too hard. But that voice is not your friend. It's the voice of decay, the voice of compromise, the voice that wraps chains around your ambition and whispers that mediocrity is enough. But your soul knows better. That inner fire doesn't sleep, even if your habits have numbed it. And deep down, you feel the guilt when you settle. You feel the regret when you shrink. That feeling is truth. You're not meant to stay where you are. You're not meant to fold when it gets tough. You're meant to break limits and become something so unrecognizable to your former self that the old you wouldn't survive in the life you're building. Potential doesn't owe you anything. You owe it everything. It's your job to show up, to fight through the resistance, to make yourself stronger than your excuses. And that happens when you stop asking weakness for permission to grow. Stop seeking comfort in moments that demand intensity. You don't need more rest. You need more responsibility. You need pressure. You need to stand face to face with your limitations and decide you're done living under their rule. Growth begins where negotiation ends. Discipline begins when feelings are denied. You don't move forward by feeling motivated. You move forward by making a decision and refusing to break it. Most people lose the battle before it even starts because they don't decide who they're going to be. They react. They drift. They try to balance between purpose and comfort, and that never works. You either commit or you crumble. You can't be powerful and passive. You can't chase greatness with your foot halfway on the brake. You need to burn the old blueprint, the one that says do just enough, the one that says fit in, stay safe, don't fail. That blueprint is useless for the life you want. And as long as you keep it in your back pocket, you're giving weakness a seat at the table of your destiny. You weren't designed to live on the sidelines of your own life. You weren't given breath to waste it scrolling, doubting, overthinking. You were given the ability to create, to dominate, to transform. But none of that happens until you decide that weakness will no longer lead the way. Start choosing pressure over peace. Choose growth over comfort. Choose war over waiting. That's how strength is forged, not in stillness, but in movement. Not in words, but in execution. You don't become powerful by talking about your potential. You become powerful by waking up every single day and acting like your future depends on what you do today, because it does. Every second you spend hesitating is a second you've donated to fear. That hesitation builds habits, and those habits build a life. If those habits are built around fear, your life will be filled with regret. But if they're built around force, around purpose, hunger, and discipline, your life becomes a monument to what's possible. The pain of pushing forward is temporary, but the pain of staying the same, that lingers, that poisons, that steals your fire from the inside out. You know what you must do. You've always known. The only thing stopping you is the voice you haven't silenced yet, the voice of weakness. That voice doesn't belong in the life you're building. You don't need it to survive anymore. What you need is urgency, relentless commitment, daily execution. You don't have to know how it all ends. You just have to outwork the fear long enough to build momentum. Because once momentum hits, weakness loses its grip. The real you takes the wheel, and the real you doesn't break under pressure, it builds under pressure. The real you doesn't negotiate with fear, it uses it as fuel. But you only meet that version when you kill the one who keeps saying, wait. You're not running out of time, you're wasting it. Every day you delay is a vote for the life you don't want. Every day you choose to tolerate weakness, you're choosing to betray your own potential. But that ends the moment you decide, the moment you take full ownership and stop playing games with the life you've been given. You want to rise, then rise with violence, rise with discipline, rise with fire so intense that excuses suffocate just being near you. That's what it takes. That's what the next level demands. That's what greatness requires. This is your moment to turn everything around, to stop settling, to stop explaining, to stop breaking promises to yourself. The world will not hand you your power. You must take it. You must claim it. You must prove that the person you're becoming is stronger than the person you've been. Weakness is no longer an option. Negotiation is over. There is only one path now, forward, hard, fast, and relentless. You owe your potential everything. Start acting like it. You either evolve by choice or decay by habit. Choose force. Because if you don't choose to rise, the gravity of your old self will pull you down until you forget what greatness ever felt like. Growth doesn't happen through hope, luck, or waiting for inspiration. It happens through pressure, through choosing discomfort over ease, action over thought, war over silence. Most people drift not because they lack talent, but because they let habit take the wheel. They surrender to their routines, and those routines slowly dismantle everything their soul came here to build. And by the time they wake up, they're trapped in a life they didn't design, built on excuses they once thought were harmless. This is the truth. You are always becoming something. You are always reinforcing a version of yourself. And if you are not doing it deliberately, you are doing it destructively. No one wakes up powerful by accident. No one stumbles into greatness. It must be taken, created, forced into existence through ruthless commitment to transformation. You must constantly choose who you are becoming, and you must destroy anything that threatens that evolution. Every second you tolerate mediocrity in yourself, it grows stronger, it multiplies, it spreads like a disease into every corner of your potential. That's the cost of inaction, the silent decay of the man or woman you were meant to be. Your habits are writing your story, whether you realize it or not. Every small decision is either building the future you want or chaining you to the one you fear. You don't change your life with a speech, a book,